Hi everyone, Chris Natzke here with Superfoot System, and welcome to your Superfoot System Drill of the Week video series. Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through some what I would call auxiliary flexibility techniques and practices, because what I've noticed throughout the years, not only with my own students but also as myself as I've aged, is it's a little bit more difficult to get into those stretching exercises that I used to before. And what I found was that oftentimes it's because we have to maybe do a little bit extra stretching in some areas that maybe we didn't have to do when we were younger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you some of the stretches that I show my students who are having some difficulty in getting into the side splits, as well as some of the stretches that I do preliminarily to warm up before I go into my side splits as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at not only the muscle groups on the inside of the legs, we're also going to be working on the back hips and the glutes, where I find oftentimes, particularly with men, where we have some tightness that really prevents us from having the best flexibility. So let's get started. The first one that I'm going to do is going to be a very simple one, and one that you've probably done yourself. And you're going to be basically in a squatting position here, and you're going to have your forearms on the insides of your legs. And basically what I'm doing is I'm pushing out with my forearms, and I'm getting as close to a side split as I can. If you can see my feet, hopefully you can see there's almost a 180-degree line. I'm also keeping my back straight, so I'm making sure that I'm staying healthy within that regard. But again, I'm just continuing to push these out. And as I go down, it's not only getting the inside of the leg, but it's also getting the bottom, the hamstring as well. So I use this as a means of pushing out here. Gotta watch my balance. And this is a nice way for me to warm up not only the legs, but also the hip joint. The second stretch that I'm going to show you is a simple frog stretch. Now, many of you have done this before, I'm sure, but I want to make sure that there are some specific things that you're noticing that I'm doing to help protect your joints. When we go into the full side splits from, say, a standing position, what I've had students tell me is that many times what happens is they start to feel pain on the inside of their knee. And the way that I see the reason that that happens is because when you're in that position and your legs are super tight, the point of tension is the knee joint. So it begins to hyperextend in the wrong way. So what we're going to do on this stretch is we're going to totally take away the knee joint. And we're just going to practice and stretching on the inside of the legs. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go in a position over the legs and spreading out. Now, the important piece that I want you to see is I have my lower leg at a 90-degree angle. I don't have them brought in. You can do it that way, but you get a better stretch on the inside of your leg when you have it at a 90-degree angle. I'm going to put my forearms down, and then from here I'm just sliding out and I'm rocking back and forth. Because what I'm doing here is not only getting the stretch going down, but as I'm going forward and backward, I'm also helping loose up those ligaments. So once again, I'm going here, I'm letting it stretch out a little bit more, and what I'm doing is I'm almost bringing my chest to the ground. Now, you can hopefully see that there's not much space there, right? If there is, when you're stretching, that's fine too. All you want to do is continue to inch it out a little bit at a time, and once again, you're working the side split motion without putting any pressure on your knee joint. All right, let's bring it back up now. Now, this next series that I'm going to go with you is, I love doing this one. This is one I kind of found I do a lot of yoga practice, and one that they were doing, I thought, wow, this one works really well for martial arts as well. When we go into the side splits and we don't have the flexibility, we have a tendency to do is we tighten up, right? Because when the muscle is being stretched beyond its limit, it has a tendency to tighten because what it wants to do is protect itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that out of the equation this time in more of a relaxed fashion. We're actually going to do this one on our back. And when we do this on our back, we're all going to work on one leg at a time. So it's going to go something like this. I'm going to go into position on my back. I'm going to bring my knee first up to my chest, just like so. Just like so. When I do this, I like to kind of roll a little bit. So what I'm doing is I'm actually getting some fluid into the hip joint. And next, what I'm going to do is take my right hand and pull down. Now, when you're here, make sure that you keep your extended legs flat down to the floor as possible. You don't want to have it come up like this. You want to have it as flat as possible. So now what I'm doing is I'm stretching the inside of the leg. And now the next aspect of this is this. I'm simply going to extend the knee. I'm going to extend the knee out, just like so. Now notice what I'm doing is I'm basically going in the side split position with my right leg, keeping my left leg down as far as I can. I'm getting the stretch, but again, I'm not putting the strain on the knee. Now, what if you can't straighten out your leg? You can do it this way. Here, keep your knee bent and just pull down. So let's try the other side so you can see it as well as that way I'm balanced. And so I'm going to pull this here, just like this. Now I'm going to take this hand, bring it on the outside, and then I'm going to extend it out. And again, pulling down my left foot as close to the mat as I can as I extend the right leg out here. Beautiful. And bring it back and out. All right. Now, that's the first series that I want to share with you, which is working on the inside of the leg. Now, here's something that I found just through experience, not only in myself, but also in my students, particularly my male students. I'm not saying the female students wouldn't have a challenge with this, but particularly I've seen this with men as we grow older. And we live in a society, most of our occupations, we're seated a lot. And when we're seated, what ends up happening is we get a tightness in the very back of our lower back, as well as in our glutes, as in our hips. And sometimes what happens is that's what prevents us from doing the side splits. Years ago, I was training with one of my training partners, a student of mine is about 5 years younger, and we were working flexibility, and he looked at me, he's had his legs as far apart as he could, and he said, I can't get any further. And I said, well, are you feeling tight inside the legs? He goes, no, I don't feel it at all. He was so tight in the lower back and in the glutes that it was preventing him from getting his legs spread. So what we're gonna do next are just some simple stretches that you can use to stretch the lower back as well as the gluteus maximus and the gluteus medius, which is your butt muscle. That's the official term. So here's the first one, pretty easy. From this position, what you're gonna do is sit with your knees bent. Next, put your right foot, in this case, over your left. Now, one thing that's super important here is we wanna do what's called a dorsiflexion of the foot. What does that mean? It means that we're pulling our toes back and our ankles bent at 90 degrees. What that does is it holds the knee in place. If we relax this, it has a tendency to possibly slip the knee joint out, and we don't want to do that. So make sure this is here. Now, notice how I keep my back super straight. And now from here, I'm leaning forward, looking to touch my chest to my lower leg. And I'm feeling a great stretch right in here. And this is one you can do when you're sitting down at your desk. So let's look at from the other side, right here. And just in like this, notice a dorsiflexion of my left foot. My back is straight, right? And I'm pushing forward as if my chest is going to touch my lower leg. You feel that stretch? Great. All right, so that's the first one. The second one is a little bit more advanced. And I call this one rocking the cradle, okay? And so what we're gonna do with this one is we're gonna extend, in this case, our left leg, and we're gonna bring our right foot up into the crook of the elbow, just like this, okay? And I'm gonna interlace my fingers. Now, once again, I'm gonna keep my back as straight as possible. A lot of times you'll be doing this because it's so tight, but it's better to have the leg lower and keep your back straight. And now from here, we interlace the fingers, pull the lower leg to the chest and rock the baby, just like this. Beautiful. Let's do the other side so I don't walk in circles after this. Again, I bring this around here, dorsiflexing the foot, and pull it into my chest and rock the baby. Beautiful. All right, last one. And this one I learned in the yoga world, and I think this is probably one of the best stretches out there for stretching the gluteus maximus and gluteus medius. And it's called half pigeon. Half pigeon. Now, once again, what we're gonna do is our forward leg foot is gonna be dorsiflexed. So I'm gonna come in here, and I'm gonna have this foot here, and I'm going to pull the other foot back. Hopefully you can't even see my other leg because it's directly behind me and my shoulders are square. Now from this position, again, I take an inhale, and then I come forward and gently bring my head to the mat. So I'm feeling a great stretch right in here. Looking at it from the side, I'll do my left leg. Once again, dorsiflexed here. I come on top here. And notice, the greater stretch you're going to have is the more you can make this a 90-degree angle. If you can't get it the way I am, you can bring your foot in, but the best is if you get this as a 90-degree angle. And now I sit down into my stretch, and now I come here as I move forward. Beautiful. So there's the half pigeon. All right, to wrap this up, we're going to do 2 stretches that we're going to do with a partner. So I'm going to bring in my youngest son, Jason, here. Jason's going to help me out. And this first one we're going to do, Jason's going to lay on his back right here. And this one is basically mimicking the same movements that we did before, but it's done with a partner. Now, when you're doing this with a partner, super important that the person who's stretching out the legs, they're in communication with the other person, right? You have to have a trust develop there. So you don't just like try to force them out really hard, right? What you're gonna do is make sure it's smooth and you're communicating with them. As the person being stretched, you wanna make sure you're really working into your breath. So you're inhaling and then you're relaxing as you exhale. And make sure that the movement is very steady. It's not jerky, right? Because you wanna have the muscles relaxed. If it's smooth and you're into your breath, it'll start to relax. So what Jason's gonna do first is he's gonna dorsiflex those feet, just like we did before in the frog stretch. And I'm gonna come here, and I'm gonna have him as close to 180 degrees as possible. My hands are here, and I'm just pushing him this way. Oh, and if you hear a snap, you've gone too far, right? So we're just right here, and notice how he's kind of relaxing as he's letting the legs open up. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tilt the hips this way. And it's gonna be more of the glutes in the back of the legs. And I'm doing right here. Very first seminar I did with Grandmaster Wallace in 1986, he taught us this stretch. So now I'm pushing here. And now the last version of that is Jason brings the bottoms of his feet together, and I'm gonna come here, and I'm gonna push this way. Now he's getting the top head of the quadriceps stretched. And then, one more time, here, and out. Notice he's gone a little bit further. Yeah, excellent. All right, Jason, he's all stretched out, he's ready to go. All right, we've got one more flexibility stretch that I'm gonna show you, partner stretch. And this one I like to call the carpet sweeper, okay? For the version I'm gonna be demonstrating, because one thing you'll hear Grandmaster Wallace talk a lot about is having agility within flexibility. Let me say that again. Agility within flexibility. So what that means is we're actually able to have some movement and rotation in the hips. So I'm gonna come here, Jason's gonna come behind me, and I'm gonna go in my side split position with my toes up. So see, my toes are up here, and once again, my back is engaged. And what I'm gonna do from this position is I'm gonna go down as far as I can. Now, if you can touch your head, it's great. If you can touch your chest, that's awesome. If you can touch your stomach, come down here. Now, in this position, notice my toes are still up. And Jason's gonna take his hands on top of my hips and push straight down. Just right here. Good, feeling stretch here. Now, from this position, he's gonna help me roll forward. So I'm gonna come this way. Notice now my feet are flat on the mat, and he's pushing again straight down. I'm in my side split position, and now he's gonna push me forward, and now I'm getting the top head of the quadricep. Oh man, that's feeling good, right there. Then he takes me back to center, and then back here. So this is why I call it the carpet sweeper. See that? I'm showing the agility within the flexibility. Now, you might be saying, Chris, what if I can't do it that way? That's why he's here. So let's check it out. What happens if you have someone who's not in the full splits yet? So Jason, why don't you go ahead and have a seat. Jason spreads out. Now, when I'm doing this stretch with Jason, I want you to think about 2 things. Not so much pushing from the shoulders, but pushing more from the middle back. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in between him, and I'm gonna put my hands here. You know, right now it kind of feels like piano strings, right? So I kind of have a sense of how hard I can push based on the tension he has here. He dorsiflexes those feet, so he's protecting the knee joint. And then I simply take my shoulder and I gently push forward on the middle back and he goes forward. Just like this, all right? And again, see where my hands are? I can see that he's got some tension there, so I know when to let off. Now, the next one's gonna go like this. I'm gonna come behind Jason. My knees are gonna be bent, my back is straight. I'm gonna grab his belt and I pull him forward. Now he's gonna be in, put your toes down there, buddy, and he's in the full side split now. I've got him here, my lower legs are behind his thighs, so he's got support, and I'm just letting him go forward, or going down. Then he's gonna arch forward, arch your back, buddy. And now he's got the top head of the quadricep here. Good, he's breathing well. He comes back to center. And then he's gonna have a seat. I help him down right here. And I'm gonna come behind him. And one more push. And there you go. He survived. So that stretch, those two stretches that I showed you there, those are obviously much more intense. So generally when I'm doing flexibility, the real heavy stretching, I may do that 2 times a week, 3 at the very most, because it's almost like lifting weights. I remember very early in my career when Grandmaster Wallace was teaching me flexibility, it's like if you have a 5-day schedule, push it hard on a Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, do a moderate stretch. Thursday, push it hard again, and then on Friday and Saturday, a little bit more moderate, based on your liking, because what you want to do is, if you're creating little micro tears within the muscles in order to get them flexible, you want to make sure you've got some time to heal, just like you would be doing if you were lifting weights. And always remember the 3 T's, right? So we have time, so take your time doing these stretches. You notice we didn't rush these. Take your time doing them. Then you have to have tension. You have to have tension. So make sure you've got the tension, but it doesn't mean that it's a brute force, but it's slow tension allowing you to go. And then finally is temperature. Make sure you're warmed up. And I don't know about Jason, but I'm sweating right now too, just in doing those techniques. So there's some auxiliary flexibility techniques for you, my friends. I hope these help you out. If you've got any questions, comments, concerns, you've got any other things you'd like some feedback on, you can email me directly at chris@superfootsystem.com. That's chris@superfootsystem.com. I hope you enjoyed this segment, and we'll see you next time on the Superfoot System Drill of the Week.